So hello, welcome to another Facebook Live. My name is Rick Cardwell and I'm a therapist, counsellor, trauma specialist, and this is a short video just around toxic relationships. And I've talked about lots of toxic relationships before and how they work, etc, etc, but this is just coming at it from a slightly different angle in some experience that I had actually with a client last night. And I realised perhaps I'd never spoken about this. So this is all about relationships and toxic relationships. Now, defining what toxic behaviour is quite difficult because there's so many factors and behaviours that can be involved within a relationship to make it toxic. And sometimes it can be interpretation. But what's common to all toxic behaviours within relationships, regardless of the value of the relationship, so friendships, intimate relationships, parents, family members, etc. What's common to all toxic relationships is that they are destructive and they're designed to break down other people, largely to gain control over that person or keep that person in a place of being controlled. Now, I see this in many different ways with clients in therapy, week in, week out. And often, and this was the case last night, a lovely client, a great guy, and didn't realise that he'd had a long-term relationship which was toxic. Now, you kind of think, well, how do you work out that a relationship, how do you miss that? How do you go through a long-term relationship with somebody and not realise that in this particular case that his partner was a narcissist, very clearly a narcissist. We looked at the elements of the relationship, and when I explained the elements of narcissistic personality disorder, everything fitted for the client. That there was a light bulb moment where they realised that clearly their ex-partner was narcissistic and they had been subject to a toxic relationship for a number of years, maybe 9 years or so. But very often people don't realise the toxicity of a relationship because they don't want to be aware of it largely, but they don't know really what a toxic relationship is. So the question is first of all, when does a relationship become toxic? Now, toxic means poisonous, harmful, destructive, in an obvious or a subtle manner. And I think we can all agree that if the relationship is toxic, then though that shouldn't happen. The relationships that are toxic shouldn't be around because all they do is create problems for the individual, problems for children, problems for family members, and these things never get better. So if a relationship just broke down because two people became too familiar with each other, that the relationship's run on for some time, it's got kind of boring and samey, they've fallen out of love, you wouldn't describe that as toxic. It's just unfortunate events where two people haven't been able to make a relationship work and it's come to a natural end. So you wouldn't call that a toxic relationship. But then on the other end of the scale, if somebody is obviously violent, abusive, controlling, verbally manipulative, Machiavellian, all of the things that people can be, then you would describe that relationship as toxic. Now, where is the line between those two places? An obvious toxic relationship and a relationship that obviously isn't toxic. Somewhere between there is a line drawn where you would say that the relationship has become toxic. Okay, so I want you to think about this. Okay, what about a relationship with a person that tells you that you're not good enough as a mother, that tells you what you should be doing bringing up your kids, that tells you, constantly asks you why you're doing things and you shouldn't be doing that and you should be doing it a different way? What about a relationship that makes you feel undermined and belittled and valueless? Would you class that as a toxic relationship? I certainly would. It's controlling a person. It's making a person feel a certain way that isn't good for them, that doesn't enhance their life to make it any better. Now, the person that's inputting that toxicity into the relationship, what if that person is the mother of the victim or the father of the victim? Would you still say that that relationship is toxic, even though the person who is being toxic is the mother, it's their child they're being toxic to? Now let's remember that toxic means poisonous, harmful, destructive. Now if that mother's behaviour towards that person is harmful, destructive, poisonous, etc., then it's a toxic relationship. Why do the dynamics change when we have a label on that person of mother, father, husband, wife, etc., etc.? It's still a toxic relationship, and people will move along with these relationships. They'll continue with the relationships because of the nature of the relationship with that person. Now, it's still a toxic relationship. It's still going to destroy your life. It's still going to drive you to depression. Still going to send you on antidepressants. But why do we tolerate it? Because it's our mother or father. Okay, now I don't know the answer to that, and everybody's going to have a different view on it. Now, I see this all the time with clients, that they say, I don't feel good enough. It's by far the most common statement that a client will come out with, that I do not feel good enough. I'm not good enough. And the particular client that I had last night, a good, decent man, and friends were saying to him that he wasn't the person that he used to be. They'd seen in him, known him for many years, and they'd seen him in him over the years, or if to compare from where he was 15 years ago to where he was now, that he just wasn't the same person. And they were saying that in a way that wasn't complimentary. There was something about his personality that he was more miserable, he couldn't connect with people, he'd lost part of his confidence, his ability to relate to people, his ability to enjoy life. Now, this had all been beaten out of him through his lack of awareness of the toxic relationship that he'd been in for 9 years or so, unbeknown to him. He'd just been a certain type of person that was outgoing, friendly, had a great life, and slowly over time the abusive toxic relationship had stripped the life out of him. He'd lost his definition as a person, he didn't know who he was, but he wasn't aware of that because he never asked himself those questions, and it just happened over a period of time. It was only other people saying to him that he had changed, he wasn't the person that he was, that he decided to come to therapy so that he can find himself and get fixed, and we're going to work through that, and he's going to be amazing, there's no question about that. But I do see this all the time with clients who've been exposed to toxic relationships, narcissistic relationships in particular, and they end up completely different to how they were before. Now, and as I said before, the main reason for this is we turn a blind eye to toxic relationships. It's the fear of being alone, or the fear of being insecure, the fear of having to make changes. Familiarity breeds contempt, and we often think it's better staying in that toxic relationship. Maybe you feel you can fix it, but we feel it's better to stay in that toxic relationship than it is to actually move away through those feelings of insecurity or fear, or the fact that you do think you can fix it. And what people say is, it's better than having nothing. Okay, and my answer to people who are in a toxic relationship and say it's better than having nothing is bullshit, because all you are doing is holding yourself in a negative state for a period of your life that you will never get back, and you're not giving yourself the opportunity to move forward and actually create a life for yourself that you deserve. Now, we all have varying opinions based on our own experiences about toxic relationships. But I want you to ask yourself if the relationship is likely to improve, yes or no. Well, my experience and the answer every time is that relationship will never ever get any better. And arguably, again, through my experience and talking to literally thousands of people, the relationship that's toxic never ever gets better, it only ever gets worse. So does it make it right to stay in a relationship because and let's say you can't fix this relationship, obviously the first thing to do is try and fix a toxic relationship. But does it make it right if that person is a mum or a dad or a sibling or a partner or a daughter? Does it make it right to stay in that relationship and keep that poison rolling on to destroy you more and more and to take away the value of your life? Now, if you continue to put up with abusive, toxic behaviour, so let's say that you're aware of that, you know that the relationship is toxic, and if you continue to put up with that behaviour towards it in a relationship and allow yourself to be put down and cause yourself to depressed and have all the good emotions, all the sense of confidence stripped out of you, then the reason that you need to get out of that is because A, it doesn't get any better, and secondly, the longer you stay in the relationship, the bigger the consequences are. Now, how do you get out of a toxic relationship? And the answer to this is really easy to learn, let's say, but more difficult to apply. And it's something that I see in countless people, either in therapy or day to day as I go about my life, is that people no longer really have the capacity to speak the minds, to be honest, and to be confident in the speech. And so part of breaking toxic relationships is about learning to speak confidently, just to tell the truth to people about their behaviours and how you feel. Now, that's not an argument, it's not an aggressive thing, but it's having that confidence to speak the truth into the relationship, to say how you feel, to point out the consequences, and confidently point out the way that you feel, so that the person that's toxic is completely into the picture of how you feel their behaviour is making you think, feel, behave, and create your life. Now, they're going to turn that round on you if you're toxic, or go into victim mode, and what about me? You know, this is all your fault. You know, narcissists will gaslight you, blame you for everything. And if that's the case, you've got two choices. Shut up and put up, stay in the relationship and live the rest of your life in misery, or get away from the relationship, because you will not change the relationship. Get away from the relationship, sever everything about it, and start a new life for yourself. Now, that's pretty harsh if it's a mother or a father. Take the label of mother or father off, as we said before. Would you be in a relationship with the person that treated you like that if it was just some random friend or somebody at work? Of course not. So these are harsh decisions to make. They're very difficult decisions to make. But remember, nasty, abusive, toxic people become mums and dads. It doesn't stop them being nasty and abusive and toxic. It doesn't stop them being narcissistic. And these are the facts of life, that often people find themselves in these very uncomfortable, bad situations, even though the toxic person is a loved one, a member of the family, etc., etc. Now, learning to speak, learning to be confident, learning to tell the truth will start to give you an awareness of what the relationship is all about, and hopefully give you some clarity of either how to deal with that relationship, or you'll see the facts of that relationship and give you opportunities of the decisions you need to make to get away from that relationship if it cannot be fixed. Now, the question that I asked is, when does a toxic relationship begin? And the answer to this is really easy. A relationship becomes toxic when you accept the toxic behaviour towards yourself and you are not prepared to do anything about it. If you can't do anything about it, then get help. But this is on you. How people treat you and how you allow people to treat you is the reason why that toxic behaviour happens. Now, look, I know many millions of people right now are in abusive, toxic relationships, controlled and beaten, and very often, trauma bonding. They can't do anything about these relationships, and it's absolutely so sad. It's so criminal. But I'm speaking to you now that if you have an awareness of being in a relationship that isn't good for you, that is toxic, then learn to speak out, learn to take control, but don't let the toxic behaviour go on. That's your choice. It's about finding within yourself the ability, the confidence and the competence to stand up to things that are evil, things that are toxic, so that you can clear your conscience, you've done the right thing by challenging it, but also to give you the opportunity to create a better life for yourself. So the answer to the question, when does a relationship become toxic? The answer is when you allow it to become toxic. And if you've allowed it to become toxic, either knowingly or unknowingly, but you become aware of that toxic behaviour and you allow it to happen, then that's something that only you can take responsibility for and start to challenge it, as I've described before, by starting to find the confidence to be honest about the relationship and put those challenges in place. So I hope that helps you. You know, the point I was making today, which I don't think I've covered in previous videos, is that toxicity does start when you allow it to happen. And often people become subject to toxic behaviours and tolerate that because they don't actually have the awareness that a relationship is toxic. You'll soon get that relationship, that awareness of the toxic relationship sooner or later. It might take a long time, it might take somebody to point it out, but that happens. But there's always a way out, there's always choices that you have to make, and challenging that toxic, you know, in new relationships particularly, when something turns with a partner, a man or a woman, and it's not good, then you have to challenge that immediately, to have a negotiated discussion about it, so that you don't get dragged into a relationship that's going to literally rip everything about you that's good, everything about you that's strong, because that's what toxic relationships do. So if you've got any questions for me about toxic relationships in general, then drop me a message on Messenger. I'll always get back to you. I'll always answer questions. You know, if you're after professional therapy yourself, I offer a 45-minute free chat, free call to have a look at your situation, pull some more out of it, and then decide, well, firstly, if you're in a good place for therapy, and to make sure that you can get a fix, and that's absolutely free. So just drop me a message if you want to have that conversation. So thank you for watching. You have a really great day. I hope this is helpful for you. I hope it helps to open your mind up to see the reality of your life, and I hope in some way that you can benefit to get a better quality life for yourself. Just don't let your life slip by. It just goes too quickly, and you want to be making the most of it. You want to be getting the best life you can, and you can if you set your mind to do that, and you're able to create the life that you want by becoming the person that you want to be. So thank you for watching. You have a great day. Oh, I will mention, by the way, I am running a course sometime towards the end of September for relationships. So if you're single, or you have lack of confidence when it comes to creating relationships, social circles, I'm going to run a course, an evening class, and this is going to be about understanding how to attract good relationships, how to speak into relationships, how to recognise bad relationships, but it's all about getting you to a place of being more confident when it comes to building relationships and understanding the dynamics of them. So it's kind of like going to be a practical, informative workshop, a classroom, to help you understand the elements of the law of attraction when it comes to relationships, something that I've studied for a long time now. So I'm quite excited about doing the class. If you want to yourself or friends want to join the class, then let me know, because I'm going to cap that. I'm going to limit that to a number of people because of the nature of the class. I don't want too large classes as the ones I've done before. So just drop me a message. I will bring out more details nearer the time, but if you genuinely want to go on that, let me know, so you do get your name on the list and you don't miss out. So thank you for watching. Have a great day. Enjoy the sunshine, and I'll be back with you in a few days. I don't know when it'll be, with another Facebook Live. Until then, you look after yourselves and be positive. Bye bye.